go ahead and get project management started this morning. We'll do quick introductions here at the table. I'm Jenny Knight, City Administrator.
Sarah Wicker, City Plan.
Matt Roberts, East Engineer.
Tyler Seaman, Building Inspector. Brian Barker, Northview Fire.
Danny Heffelfinger with Vondas and Water.
So we've got first, Glade McCombs for Summit Views Phase 3. Come on up, Glade.
Oh, good to see you all again.
Likewise, thank you.
Yeah.
I think we've got your site plan here.
Yep. So, so without revising the whole thing, and let me kind of give you some background here. So we looked at after our last trip here, we looked really carefully at the design. We know what you guys are pushing for. We researched flex home possibility. It just won't work on this particular property number wise. I mean, we couldn't make the numbers work. We did look at that pretty extensively. So what we did here is kind of we pulled back the density. You know, I think we were at 59 lots, so we're now at 50 units. We moved a lot of them to single family patio homes. So the only place where we kept townhomes was along this street and here abutting the sheriff's housing ground. And we felt like that was justified based on, you know, those are commercial properties. This provides a little bit of buffer for the single family. But we felt like that was a good effort on our part to try to satisfy, you know, the city's request. So basically everything outside of that is single family patio homes. We did keep the street alignments fairly consistent. We changed a little bit. I know Matt was concerned about this was narrowed down here. So we put that full width all the way through. I think the alignment, you know, I think works a little better. But we did keep our stubs, you know, here, and here. Those two aren't technically stubs, right? Like, yeah, they're not technically.
They're not gonna extend into the commercial piece.
We have no intention of extending those. Those are just dead ends, yeah, for access.
The top one, the 3.
Yeah, so we've got Berkeley Street here and then Summit View development here. And then down on the west. So, yeah, good catch there. So, so that's kind of what we've done. We revamped our footprints on this, on the single family a little bit. The townhomes will be very similar to what we did on Summit View phases 1 and 2. So all of those townhomes are similar to the layout on Summit View 1 and 2. So here's our thoughts. I asked Cody to come with us today. Cody, as you know, is doing Summit View 1 and 2. And so really what we really want to do is just our intent from day one has been to expand, you know, our master development agreement that was approved by you guys gives us the opportunity to add additional land and develop that and roll it right into that MDA. And that is still our plan. And so, Cody, I don't know if you want to address that at all.
Yeah, sure. So Blake called a couple weeks ago and said, hey, Cody, the city wants to do a whole different thing on this than what we've done with Summit View. And I said, well, that's kind of weird, but explain it to me. And he said, well, they're looking at like townhomes. If we did townhomes having like rear garages, like front facing the road. And I said, I can see the value in that, but the problem is with Summit View 1 and 2 already going in how it is. I'd rather keep it consistent and make the whole project all similar. And so I don't know if I threw a kink in the whole cog here, but to keep it similar, I think would be more consistent and keeping it in like what I thought that the city wanted was like to include this in the HOA for some of you. So it's all just one continuous thing and it had more people to joint share. All the open space requirements, the pickleball court requirements, the Bowery or clubhouse requirement, like all the things the city required for the phase one, I thought was gonna be consistent with all of this as well.
That's one, Glade's aware of this, and Lane, you were here the last time.
Yeah.
To speak to that point,
Sure.
we were in negotiations adopting affordable housing ordinance with our city
Uh-huh.
council at the time that we received the concept plans for phase 3. And during that time, our council was very specific about how much density they were comfortable with allowing. And during
Okay.
that process, the original concepts, I'm excited to hear you cut down the density. Just quick calculations, you're closer to that 6 units
are.
per acre than we've been, yeah. Because we were upwards of higher than that before.
We were close to 8.
And so we now have a gauge of our responsibility as staff to fulfill our obligation to what the council wants. So that's the main density background of
Mhm.
why it might seem different from what is in the other two, which I don't think the calculations of the other two were as high as what you had proposed for phase 3. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct.
So to speak to your point, maybe the rear garages is a little different, but the density is more consistent with what phases 1 and 2 have been approved
On
for.
this proposal,
On this proposal.
I understand.
Yeah, and I think that this really will have a nice flow from Summit View phases 1 and 2. Because as you come into the development, all of that will be single family houses, basically all of the public thoroughfare. Butts up against single family houses. I think it will be a much more consistent flow. Much more appealing. And then if we can just, but we really, numbers wise, we really need to keep density as high as we can, obviously. To make this work, and so that's why we stuck with the townhomes on that south street and the west street. And I think that, again, we do have the pocket park here. I know you guys were also concerned about amenities, but as Cody addressed that, we have all of the amenities for Summit View phases 1 and 2 that we're tying into that HOA. We do have a park here. We have a trail here with a pocket park here. We'll put something in there as an amenity. I think we may have added, I don't remember, but we may have added a few more parking spots, guest parking spots. We definitely added overall parking spots. So I think it's a more consistent, more appealing design. And Sarah, I know you really pushed for, and the city is pushing for, not street facing garages. But boy, to do that is really gonna reduce the opportunity for any kind of density that's gonna get us the kind of numbers that we need. We just can't make it work.
So we're just going off of feedback from our council and our planning commission.
Understood.
They've just seen this, they just don't like that vision. And so, I like a lot of the changes that have happened here. I noticed something, so I sent you the Haas ordinance.
Right.
And the reason we're leaning on that is because that is what, we went through with both the planning commission and the city council as far as like setbacks and density, and we know that that's what they're comfortable with. I actually proposed something more dense in that, and it got a lot of pushback. And so I'm just concerned if we don't hit the density targets and the setbacks that they're comfortable with, that moving forward, you would have some pushback. Looking specifically, there are a few setbacks that I think, just like the 25-foot setback, if you're gonna have that garage in the front, and some of them aren't quite 25 feet. I'm more worried about some of the corner setbacks, how close the buildings are to the side. Those need to be 20 feet. If I can twist, that'd be hilarious. And Yeah, a lot of these, and so you might do some density to meet that setback requirement, but I think that's important even for sightlines and things like that. I like, you have for those single family homes, a decent amount of frontage. I think those will look nice. Do you know what your garage sizes are?
Yeah, most of them, so we did this row up here. These are all single family, or I mean, single car garages. So these are single cars. And then we have two single cars here. And then we have a single car here and a single car here. All the rest of them are two-car garages.
And do you know the size of the two car garages?
They're about, in that layout, they're probably, I don't have that drawing with me, but I would, if I remember right, it's about a 22 foot width,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay, and just because we're looking to align like just our parking standards were more clear and having like that should meet the minimum 2-car garage size. We just want to make sure that that's,
Oh, yeah.
and so for the single car garages, the only thing that I'd be worried about, we might be okay with the additional parking that you provided. According to just our standard ordinance, there needs to be 2 parking spaces behind the front setback. So one could be in the garage, but with those, there wouldn't be a second parking space available. And so behind the setback. And so we might want to look at more on-site parking to accommodate that. I'm not sure, like I didn't see, we don't have consistent sidewalks throughout the development. And I don't have the street that's on this layout in particular, so I wasn't sure if we'd even be able to have on-street parking on some of these too.
I'm not sure, and that's, we have to go back to and see what you were considering to be public streets.
Yeah, the public streets are this one and then through here.
Okay, the rest
All the
are
rest of them are
private.
private. Yep.
So if there isn't any on-street parking and there's only one garage space, then looking at more parking is probably, at least, there will need to be at least one on-site parking per single car garage, because there needs to be 2 per dwelling unit. But that,
doesn't count the driveway then.
right, the driveway technically doesn't count as parking, we get more.
Why is that? Because
the ordinance-
it certainly is a parking spot.
Yes, and it can be, but the ordinance counts all parking that's behind the setback. Because technically people aren't supposed to be parking on the lawn or whatever, or creating
So
their
it's behind that 20 or
25 foot setback, yeah. So it could be to the side of the house, it could be behind the house. And people can park there. We won't be as concerned about visitor parking if there are driveway spots for people, but in this scenario where there possibly isn't even on-street parking, that could get pretty wild.
Well, and we will have, I mean, certainly we do have some on-street parking. On the public right of way, we'll have parking all the way along there. But I know it is a little challenging in these communities where the lots are narrower. Because, you know, you just have so much space between the driveways, yeah.
Well, and in reality, in those townhomes, there won't be on-street parking in the townhomes because it's just
Right.
straight driveways, and
Yep.
so.
But we
Providing
can,
extra parking spots for those. I
Okay.
think would
You do,
help out.
you do have some parking, like the stalls on the island there, north and south, or east and west. I
yeah,
guess.
we have
Yeah,
here and here and here.
yeah,
We could certainly add some parking probably here.
Maybe a little bit there, and I'm worried more about something right by those townhomes. Especially we've got a lot of those, up top where you've got all those single garages.
Okay.
Yeah, near those single garages would be. However, that would work if,
Will the ordinance allow them to have, like, count any of those stalls across the street, like those 9 stalls? Or like,
well, because this
Right,
is
because it's
a
single.
community, technically, it doesn't meet our parking ordinance to
Right.
have a single car garage without another place like behind that setback, so it'd be in the side yard or whatever.
Yeah.
And so where this is a community though, and an HOA and it's common space and common parking stalls, I think we could accommodate that in an NDA.
Okay.
Those are my main concerns. Just, yeah, the setbacks, and I am a little concerned about the density just because the target is that 6 units per acre. And right now, you know, we're expecting like price points at that to get that kind of density. So that might be a harder sell to the planning commission and the city council. That would be the thing I'd be concerned about. The layout. So are the sidewalks supposed to continue through, or are they just not drawn, continued?
Yeah, I mean, we kept, so the street layout here and the sidewalk layout is very similar to our previous submission. So, and it was a little odd, we had Great Basin do the previous one. And it was a little odd, you know, that they stopped, you know, in at certain places.
That's one for sure to connect. I don't know about.
So we could certainly connect that one.
I don't know on the private roads if it's all that important, yeah, because they'll just walk in the private street, it's not a through street, so it's not.
Well, need on the other side of Berkeley to connect to the both sides of Berkeley, because
Yeah, probably.
the
both
existing
sides of
road, the
Berkeley.
existing road has.
So here you'd want it,
Yeah, I think that would be important.
okay?
And then the other one's a private street as well, but it just seems,
Yeah, they are, the places where there is no sidewalk, it's all private. So,
and are you expecting like a rolled curve where you've got all those driveways right next to you
yeah,
in the other one?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any way, one other thought I had is the two park areas are kind of squeezed into kind of some dead space.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there's any way with the alignment to, or with the layout to join those together. So you can have your, you know, your little walking path and playground kind of open area in the same area. That just makes a little more sense to me instead of two tiny areas. They can get them both in one. But
Yeah, so you'd like the parks combined, is that what you're saying?
that makes sense to me, but I'm not the planner yet. I don't know.
Well, I'm not as familiar with the first 2 phases and what kind of amenities are already
It's just,
there.
it's the pickleball court up by 1100 North.
Okay, but there isn't like a big open space.
There's some walking trails that go.
There's the big open space, there's an open space down the whole center of the project with a walkway path in it.
Oh, in phase 2, you're
In
right.
phase, yeah,
In that little.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
too, yeah.
That's
And that walking path does have like another connector that goes like to the pickleball courts. And that could easily be walked by all these people.
Yeah, because it's a very short distance from here, I mean,
Yeah,
that walking trail is probably like right here, where
Yeah.
you
Straight
straight
up
up
to
onto it. There's houses along here, and then that on the other side of those houses is that walking trail and that open space.
I wonder whether that little pocket park to the north is even. Yeah, I don't know how people would use that. I think the corner one feels in a space like, I don't know.
I'm thinking they'd like
Buildability, what
take
you would put there.
those 3 houses and scrunch them all together and make the pocket
We
park
could.
just one pocket park.
Yeah, because we do have quite a bit of space between those houses there.
Yeah,
That's just a thought.
Yeah, it might be more functional, but there is, how many new units do you have in the first 2 phases?
40.
There aren't a lot of units, so a lot of HOA is kind of a big burden. You already have the,
Yeah,
That's why the benefit of this to hook it all together would be really great.
yeah. I'll look at the open spaces of the first 2 and see what we really need for this area, so we don't overburden that HOA. Maybe what they need is more parking, not more parks.
Sure. Makes sense.
It'd be nice to see how this connects to the other phases as well. I know we need to single this out because this section has it gotta go through the public process, but it'd be nice to see how it complements what you already have
Right.
in a full master view of all three phases.
That'd be helpful for a presentation.
Yeah,
To
I
help
agree.
them understand why this is the way it is and what kind of amenities that are connected to it.
It looks kind of isolated, which we need it to be for, like I said, that this portion hasn't gone through any public process yet, so it'll be important for us to present it appropriately. But for a full view of how it's gonna complement what's already existing, it'd be nice to see a master plan.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay.
Would it be simpler for you guys if we add this to the MDA we have and just try to approve and edit it?
It's a MDA amendment, either,
Okay.
yeah, whether you start from over,
Through.
yeah, it has to, because it wasn't included in the first.
Okay.
So it's an amendment to the initial MDA.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you would want to do a completely different MDA with this, you just.
No, we
do an
would, yeah,
amendment.
we would do an amendment, so there's really two things that have to happen here, we have to amend the MDA. And then rezone this property.
As mixed use residential.
Here's the.
Yeah, cause it's ZAG right now.
Is there a playground going in over there, or what is that?
There is a
There's
playground.
a playground, okay.
By the
Some of you wanted
By the
to,
clubhouse, yeah, so.
I couldn't remember it. There was.
yeah, there's
We have like
like,
a bridge there.
Do you have an age
Okay, it's 94
target
cents
for your playground?
to add more space.
that's cool.
More space.
the playground's on there. Is there a playground in there?
There's
I thought because there's a
It's a
playground
playground.
across the street. We were just doing the pickleball courts and.
No, there's a small playground.
It shows one right by the clubhouse.
Okay.
So if you have one there, maybe we don't need,
Maybe it.
maybe we have a criteria to just add a little bit more to the existing open space.
Well, or just. Yeah, or maybe.
Not in size, but in,
Yeah,
you know, amenities, add to those amenities.
because these are pretty, I think, these are nice amenities in the first.
This is gonna be about 90 units if we're able to fill 50 units. If it's approved,
Mhm.
which is still quite a small HOA.
It is yeah, it's still a small HOA. You know, the nice thing I like about this whole community, once we do this, is it's gonna be a nice walkable community, you know? You're gonna be able to easily get from one end to the other, because there's some private streets involved. There's not gonna be a lot of traffic coming through here. And I don't know what will ultimately happen. I don't know, have you heard any update on the school and whether they're gonna do an exit through there? Has there been any more developments on that? I mean, that's the only thing that would add,
Yeah, if they've talked to UDOT, we're unaware, but
okay,
they.
that's the only thing that would add additional traffic through. I mean, you may get a few people who come from Berkeley up through to 1100 North, but that's not gonna be significant because you've got the other street that goes up to 1100 North
Yeah.
through that other subdivision, so.
What's the proposed screening on the south? Between the commercial and this residential?
Haven't discussed that with the butters yet, but we're gonna talk about that because we will want some screening there for sure.
I'll send the, section of the code with the different options we have for screening.
Yeah, I mean, we realize the sensitivity of that, you know, being up against that commercial and, you know, that industrial yard, it's just gonna be not attractive.
It may actually apply to the west as well, where that's remaining agricultural. We're running into this in some of the other developments where. Although agricultural allows residential use, its use is different than residential. I mean, it's agricultural, so
Right.
we may need to consider. What that looks like, and who knows what the future development of that west piece will be.
I think in general for these types of communities, when the housing is that dense, it's best to have screening between development, between uses.
Yeah, has anything been presented on the sheriff's policy ground? Nothing's come.
No, we've had a conversation with them. Over the last probably, well, and with the charter school, probably for the last 7 or 8 years. I've heard different various things, they wanna relocate.
Yeah, my last conversation with the sheriff's posse was that they were relocating. Actually, I think they're closing down, but, yeah, I've talked to them for, that's been 6 months ago that I talked to them.
Yeah, it's more recent than I've had it.
Okay.
Yeah, when we get down to the engineering, I mentioned this before, this looks a little better, but it's still a little bit of a tough intersection with 3 or 4 different road widths coming all together right there. So some of those offsets.
You talking right here?
Yeah. Just trying to wrap my head around that a little bit.
Well, and we can clean that up a little bit. Obviously, we've got quite a bit of distance here. We could probably straighten this out a little bit more and make that a little.
And I think the intent is to match, so Berkeley is actually a little bit of a narrower,
It is.
cross section than what our typical standard is, but I think we were okay with continuing that same right of way width down, going west. Looks like it's drawn a little bit narrower right now. Just when you look at how wide it's shown Berkeley, and then as you get down to your development, it's a little narrower.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Match that all the way down.
I'm pretty sure that's the same width, but I'll verify that.
Yeah. And then our main Sunview Drive is obviously wider, but. And then are we still looking at? I know some of the talk in the past for stormwater was to put it down on the butters or even expand the city basin that's down there at the bottom of that cul-de-sac.
Our thought was to expand that basin that you already have there. We're also tying in sewer down there.
Right.
That's our intent.
Just have to look. I know that was talked about, but it's been a little while since we looked at that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thought, is that we would expand that, and so that would.
Okay, so those need to look at how that design is gonna go, and you're gonna have to have some agreements or easements from the butters. Because that would have to expand onto the butters.
Yeah, that won't be a problem.
Because if that doesn't work out or whatever, then you're gonna have to find some detention somewhere on here.
Yeah.
Did you get that?
Okay. Any thoughts on that? I don't think you were involved in those discussions, so. Okay, anything else?
Can you see any issues with water?
No, just secondary and tying in will be relatively easy, some of you in Berkeley.
Yeah. And there is, I mean, you guys tied in, so for some of you phases 1 and 2, there was a tie in here to Berkeley to the
The
sewer
sewer
here.
connections in,
Yeah, the sewer connections in.
completely done.
And so our intent is, we knew that from the initial meetings that we had with you guys and with our engineer, we just didn't have on this part of the development, we don't have flow to here.
So you're gonna run the sewer.
And that's why we're running that sewer down and tying into that manhole down there.
That sewer deep, I would highly doubt that we couldn't get it to flow to Berkeley.
Really?
Yeah, it's deep,
So maybe we'll be okay, but we'll look at that.
yeah.
You got options though.
Yeah, we do have options for sure.
Any comments from fire?
Not yet.
Building?
No, but looks like all the separations are good. Hard to tell for sure, but.
Okay.
Any more questions for us?
No, so, so what we would love to do is if we incorporate these revisions, is that something that I can just send you guys, you look it over, or do we have to come back to one of these meetings? I'd like to streamline the approval through.
I
through
think we
this.
can work through it at this point. Do you agree? Yeah.
That would be
Just
perfect.
has to be in enough time for the next step, right? So it needs to be reviewed, any time for any additional corrections to be made before we have to public notice if you're gonna go for the MDA amendment. You'll want to propose an MDA amendment so our legal team can review that.
Yeah. So the timing on this, do we want to amend the MDA first, or do we want to just submit for the zoning change first?
I think
Can we
you
do it
can do it
simultaneously?
simultaneously. The MDA does have to be approved before the zoning change.
Okay,
If in the meeting.
okay,
It will all have to go through city council because it's a zone and the MDA.
Right, they
Yeah,
will.
it will.
They go through both.
They'll both go through both.
okay,
We'll hold a public hearing at the planning commission level.
right. Okay. Any other questions you got?
I don't have any. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
The MDA, the zoning change.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. All right, second on our list is Dixon Creek Phase 3. We're all about Phase 3s today.
Figure out a place to put him. I'm away out of months.
Hi, Preston, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Sent us an exhibit.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us what you're proposing.
So on the topic of amending master development agreements, we decided just I think for ease of layout, just include Dixon Creek Phase 1 and 2. That's the entire white area to the north and west. The Phase 3 portion is the E.K. Bailey construction site. And it's just an extension of Phase 1 and 2, tying into the roads, incorporating it into the HOA. And just kind of extending that to the next phase.
Okay, this might be the first look for our team. The first thing I noticed is your statistical summary, the overall density is catching our eye. I'm curious, when you calculated your density, did you just do the overall density of the DR Horton space?
No, that's just including the Phase 3 portion, so the 8.449 acres would just be for the Phase 3 portion.
Because the history with this one is a little bit unique in that large wetlands area was dedicated to the city as a park. So that's how, I guess where I'm going with that is if you're basing it off the density that was allowed in this space to continue that, this was calculated over the course of a larger portion. So the higher density in this might be. Yeah.
Open space
Right.
to account, to get the density to match what it's actually on.
For the Phase 1 and 2 portion.
Yes, because if you look, I don't have the geodesy, let me pull up. Oh, you can never spell in front of people.
We're all checking these.
Thank you. Please do. Please make a comment. If you look at the larger space here. The bearings. So this density calculation for these two phases incorporated all of this area. So when you're calling out, I don't know what parcels are, is it, do you know which parcels?
Just kind of this rectangle here,
So,
not including this portion, but
okay,
yeah,
so
Everything
this
that
space here.
yes.
So this, I guess my original comment is this was very high density for the project because we excluded out the portion that was being dedicated and the commercial piece here. The other element that is going to be a little tricky is this is mixed use commercial. And so the concept plan here doesn't include any additional commercial on Washington,
Mhm.
and that was a calculation that was also used in the original. Because there's a commercial pad, which I don't know how much is DR Hortons and how much. is
Right,
this
we're
one, so-
just we just
You're-
do the residential.
So I realize that there's a connection there,
Right.
but I don't know how much awareness there is on
Right.
part of where that
Right.
came from, so I'm sensitive to that. And
Mhm.
don't wanna come out being
Right.
super aggressive on our side,
Mhm.
but I think those are gonna be concerns moving this third phase forward.
So,
Just when we're looking at mixed use commercial right now, if we take this piece in isolation as far as what we required, it's 20% open space for the residential portion, and then 50% has to be commercial. So 50% residential, 50% commercial, and 20% of that residential needs to be open space, the way the ordinance or the code's written right now. Am I getting that right? I think it's over and over.
Yeah, we've given some concession on, well, every project's been unique. It's been all
Never
the
looked at
mixed use,
redoing
yeah.
Been tough, yeah. Which would be a really big back from where this is going, so that's kind of hard.
yeah, I think if we take into account just the phase 1 and 2 land. Density wise, I think we're at like 14.5 units of the acre. Just on the residential land, not including the commercial portion to the north. Are you, or is the council wanting commercial on this phase 3 portion, or? Is the commercial on the northern more being discussed about putting that commercial there?
I'm gonna put our council member on the spot with that question.
That's pretty good.
So this section of, this is Dixon Creek over on Washington Boulevard. When we initially negotiated the commercial, because there was a large part being dedicated, they do have some commercial paths that they're still yet to develop.
Right.
They're asking, would the city be interested, or would the city council specifically be looking for another commercial element in this phase 3 proposal?
This is always, you know, when we first went through the land development, we put it in mixed use for a reason. And that was so we could develop commercial along that front side. You know, and yet at the same time, what's the one Italian place that's been empty for how many years? And so how does commercial start to fit into there? I know at one time, the ice cream lady was going to get a little bit more of this area. I'm always open for seeing some type of commercial development where I read that. But, you know, I'm not sure how it fits.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? And that's what I guess I'm going here. I mean, you have a high density area, that's fine, having some shops along the side, but also seeing empty commercial property, it's been sitting there for years. How do we develop that whole path along that area? I mean, you take that and then you move up into North Austin, they've developed a whole major area of the commercial development. Where we're trickling down the side, so how do we put that together? Is that a good question?
It is a good question. I think what we're dealing with, and we're looking to redo the general plan again. We may have over allocated how much commercial space we want to see based on the way commercial space is being used currently. I'm sure when the other plan was done, we couldn't have quite so many online home operating businesses, so I don't know how much. And the problem with having too much commercial is that you compete with yourself, and sometimes it makes it hard for the commercial to survive, because it can go anywhere and then it goes nowhere.
So let's move over to Highway 89. Our extension was over there in 750 West, that was also saying commercial front, same idea. That's now being changed. But as they sell those homes, they're now individual homes, so they're not necessarily go there.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I mean,
It doesn't, you know, and now that you see how it's laid out, that's not commercial front property. I would not park my car there. Or when I go around the corner and parking lot and walk down, unless it's something I absolutely need there.
So it's something to consider. There is a large commercial pad of how much commercial space is needed, what kind of businesses do you want to reserve space for?
Yeah.
And, how much housing do you want to see go in?
Yeah.
But it'd be the same preference of the city council.
Can I insert a comment? Sorry, I know Preston's running this, which I don't get the chance to like sit back and relax very often, so. But my thing here with the commercial, essentially, the UDOT access becomes really inviable commercial here. So that would be my only hesitation of, I mean. And if you're really stuck on it, maybe there's like some time constraints on it, but yeah, exactly. It becomes an odd,
Will they allow
They
another
would
access?
allow another
Okay.
access to property.
yeah, they've
Wind up with Canfield.
ratted about it. They weren't thrilled about it though. I know Brett's had discussions with them before. But that's where it would have to be.
Well, you have an access for your residential.
No,
Oh, you do not. You're just
It goes-
extending.
We're just tying it to the private roads.
Existing.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I think
I
we
don't
would
know if
want
I
that,
love that.
with that much residential, I think we want that UDOT, with residential or commercial, I think we would want that.
To have another outlet there.
I'm glad it circled back to that conversation because there's only two access points for these two phases.
going out on Washington and then where.
Yeah, I've sat in
Western
conversations with UDOT, before about a Canfield connection. Their issues are valid. They like connected access.
They're trying to
points.
limit.
They're just trying to limit it. They're not.
Yeah,
shutting
and that will
down.
more than likely be a lighted intersection if that Canfield one goes through. That was the conversation.
Yeah,
No,
they,
we have that on ours.
I know UDOT, and that's a little bit of a point of contention between UDOT and Ogden City too. 'Cause
Yeah.
Ogden wants
Okay.
it, Ogden
They want
wants
it
it at
here.
11.
Okay, and I think that and the discussion was a while ago, but that has always been a weird
Ogden wants
intersection
it,
for
yeah.
UDOT.
Ogden wants it at 1100 north, just because 1100 north is a big collector. UDOT doesn't like it 1100 north because of the proximity to Larsen Lane. They want us to more.
There's already an existing one here, but I think we have it identified on our transportation plan as the 1100 north,
Yeah,
but certainly.
So then that worries me too, that does that become just a right in, right out for us? Cause I know they have, it's just, even right
It's very
now, the
likely.
whole area for full turn is a disaster. So part of the reason Brent is moving,
so it's hard for him to get in.
it's, yeah, it's just incredibly hard, and that road is, yeah, it's just a lot, just,
You're preaching to the choir, because we had our public works.
yeah,
meeting,
there you go,
so
exactly.
We know all about that. It's more of adding, even throw the commercial out, assuming that the council was comfortable with just residential, that we have to address access.
Yeah, and I'm great with an access there, I just worry what that access becomes and how viable commercial.
Yeah, right in, right out, it's not very viable for commercial properties.
But we don't know if UDOT
Right.
would
Right,
require that
they
for
may
sure or not. Where it lines up with Canfield, they may allow full.
Because they didn't
Access.
require it.
You know, they-
And then, but that one doesn't go to another through road,
Sure.
Which,
it's not a four-way intersection type thing.
wouldn't you not be more likely to put the light at Canfield over 1100 than at
Well-
1300 because it doesn't go through?
UDOT wants.
I mean,
it.
UDOT.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ogden
So-
City wants it here.
Ogden City wants it there, but they don't. So having it through at Canfield, that might make it a
More viable.
spot.
Yeah,
I think it's worth a
overall,
conversation with them.
I know, and I can see the 1100 north argument too, because I mean, you look at our master plan, our transportation master plan, 1100 north's the collector road that goes all the way to 89. And then 1100 north goes all the way up to Harrison. So it's designed to be, a collector and everyone feeds.
It's just been wasted by residential on all quarters, so.
We have commercial and we have a church
Yeah, right.
on our 1100 north, because we have
Oh, that one,
commercial. This is all commercial,
All that.
and then we
one
have
spot.
the Lutheran church.
Yeah, they've always said they don't like the distance, but they have lights closer than that, just up the road in North Ogden.
Yeah. They came, we had conversation I don't know, or, oh, I don't know, Matt, if you were part of that, but they wanted to realign Larsen Lane with 900 north, so that gave more distance between 1100. I think they had some issues with property, yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a challenge, that's a huge challenge, so,
I think, yeah, where you got stands on. the
that's
road
gonna be
there
an
is gonna
important
be a big-
conversation.
I'd set up a
Pre-application.
pre-app, to see what they say.
And then I think how do, where does it come with the viability of, like, then what's the next discussion there? Cause I don't know that we would, even separate from DR Horton, I don't know that we would have any interest in commercial or be able to sell it, rent it, any of that. So that would be, is there, if there's a dead set on it, could it be something like a frontage row of live work, and in 3 years, if we can't sell them, they turn to residential, or?
We already have that, that's not being
So-
used.
Yeah, what's really changed significantly in the last 3 to 6 months, we have new city council and, no one seems very excited about townhomes anymore. Everyone wants to see single detached homes. So if you wanted to use, and the Haas overlay really doesn't apply to this zoning, but if the Haas ordinance that, we worked on is what the city wants to see, the council wants to see.
What is that? What is that?
6 units per acre, single family detached homes. And there's a target price point of 50% of them at about 8 million.
Okay.
So that I think wouldn't have as much trouble
Probably not.
going through.
I understand it's kind of a weird area.
It's a weird area to put that.
Commercial
Yeah.
on one side and.
Where it's commercial, they might be more open to some townhomes.
If commercial was viable there, that's probably what.
What are these across? Are these still residential?
No, it's like a Papa John's and
This, okay, I got you, that's
something, a field, but then it is all residential.
the rest is.
I mean, the original, right, like idea for Washington is trying to have commercial along that's fronting Washington. And then allow for
And then
some
the-
residential back behind it, but
And it's
like we
currently,
said, we're having a hard time filling those. commercial
yeah,
lots.
but it's currently being used, it's commercial now and it's
Yeah.
currently being used commercial.
It should be.
Well,
I
yeah,
know
that's
it's
a stretch to say it's being used commercial, because it's a heavy machinery.
Yeah.
It's not retail commercial, no, we're
But I'm
revitalizing.
saying it's being used as commercial, it's being used as its zone.
Although we should have deemed them on.
Hey, watch it, man.
Hey.
Stop looking, this is all already fathered, it's gonna be grandfathered.
Hey.
I don't know where and when,
That's a
but
stretch word, very stretch.
we're trying to clean it up by leaving, okay? So help us,
1207 is still RA 15.
that doesn't surprise me.
Yes.
So I think it's 150 feet back from Washington to 89 is the main. Do you
Like
know
the
how
whole
the
commercial corridor?
Yeah.
That 150 feet is what what the code really wants to preserve for commercial. So as far as viability, if you propose something that was 150 feet of commercial paths, reserved something,
Yeah.
and then maybe townhomes beyond that, but they're gonna wanna see, I just don't see you getting that much density. We had a different, developer come through that wanted to do something like that, and there was a lot of pushback on that density.
I have a question, and I feel like, and I'm sorry if I'm railroading this meeting for you, Preston, but my understanding, and this was per Brent, which might just be something he created, but my understanding that the density on this side was usable because of the overall agreement on phase 1 and 2. So I thought this somehow tied. Am I wrong in that, Preston?
There's,
That the
The problem
phase
is
1
with the
and
city,
2.
there was never any this property in the MDA.
Original.
I think there's been like.
Is there been
there's been, like,
discussion?
Discussion or talk, but it was never included in the.
Yeah.
MDA.
He had stuck in his mind that there was something about giving up the wetlands on the north side that entitled this side to that higher density. without such
That's how
open space.
phase 1 and
Yeah.
2 got.
that's how, to circle back to the beginning,
that.
that's how they got this high of density
Okay.
in this acreage
So
here.
maybe that's where I'm.
It's because this whole area has been dedicated to Harrisville.
Right.
But they have reserved this pad as a commercial pad. And then this will be the park, right? This will be a road that comes into the park that the city will develop.
Would the city, odd question, but does the city need anything for the park and its development that would allow us to donate that to forgive the commercial on phase 3?
I don't, yeah, I was gonna say, and even to Sarah's point, we're not the decision makers,
Yeah.
right? We're just
Yeah.
trying to tell you what direction that we've been given.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you come up with a plan and say, we have real concerns with this viability of this commercial. Is there something else that the city needs that we
Yeah.
can open that door to Grover's point? I mean, we have the whole, I don't want to give you the whole history of the mixed use in Harrisville. 2016, we did our first mixed use development and the commercial pad still sits.
And that's just up the street.
And it's just, and so then we revamped the whole, yes, yeah,
Okay.
across
1500
north.
The one where his old
This.
one? Oh, yeah.
29.
So this is the commercial portion, and that was developed under a different mixed use ordinance.
Yeah.
And the city council, I'm sorry if I feel like I'm putting words in your mouth, Grover, but the council was very upset. That's not the intention of the mixed use, right? For the developer to get all the density and then the commercial, there's no benefit to the city. So then we revamped our entire mixed use ordinance and came up with the 3 categories that we currently have.
Okay.
So that's the Cliff Notes version of our mixed use experience. But since then, every mixed use development has been very unique. The golf course was
Yeah.
hugely unique. And then the Copperwoods, in our opinion, not our best work. Not our best work. We'll own it. It's not laying out the way that, yeah, we tried and it was probably an epic failure, except it provided more housing.
Well, and that's where we're leaning toward is they have been, I mean, flying, this townhomes that are building currently are flying off the shelves. And it's like, if we could prove,
Sure.
if you can continue that stuff, that it's like, yeah, we've got it, we're going. And if it makes, you know, maybe there's a donation to the park entrance or something there where we're offsetting, so there's a benefit, but it's not forcing us to do something that we really don't have any intention or ability to do. Brent personally is very open to that. That's not a responsibility of DR Horton, that's a Brent side, but Brent is, you know, that is totally fine, because he also doesn't want to be left with, they're not gonna take commercial, we can't really sell them, we're gonna be left with 150 feet along, 600 feet of that for years.
That they don't, that DR Horton doesn't want, right?
Right, no one else is gonna take off our hands.
It's, so, for me, I mean, personally, from a planning standpoint, I think this is a good place for density, because of the access, and it's continuing with an existing HOA, you know, financially, that community would be very viable.
Close to a cool park.
It's very close to the park.
Yeah.
So I would be in favor of a parks donation in lieu of commercial and or open space. I think the city would benefit from that. I think it would be a considerable donation. I don't know how excited.
Yeah, I don't know how that's go.
We worked out Beaver County, you know.
I know how those considerable donations usually go.
So probably a Charlie-sized donation.
Yeah. There's some benefit for Brett, because it can be work too. You know, he's okay to throw machines and help you get some of that stuff. And so he is in a lucky situation where he's like, yeah, I can help you grade out roads, trails, get you out, you know, all sorts of things. So like, we're actually doing one with Pleasant View where his new headquarters is going. We've helped with their park on the side. So for him, he's in a lucky situation that some of that he can do at cost. It's not as expensive, yeah, as a normal developer. So we're open to some of that, and he would prefer helping you do it versus than a straight cash donation, just because then he can offset a lot of that. But we would, I mean, if we had ideas of what that park was looking for and needed help with.
Yeah, and I don't know if under state law we're allowed to do that, you know, if we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, we have to get bids, we have to go through.
Well, and usually what happens is, hey, we need a parking lot, so you guys design the parking lot and we put it in.
I think there are ways we can do that, but it would have to be
really looked at.
Yeah.
I
I can speak to that, or
Yeah.
speak to that, but I'm just saying, I think that these are all, and that's what this meeting's for, right? Is for us to throw out on the table all the possibilities. I think regardless of whether you get higher density and this is residential, we've got to talk about what this, how this ties into Washington, and have a pre-application meeting with UDOT and just get all of our information.
And I think if you can get an access to Washington right there, and then maybe even give a little more open space just within that, that would take the density down a little bit, then maybe an easier sell to the council and planning commission as well.
So I want to chip in just for a second, since we're talking back on access. What is the density as far as numbers of people? And then I'll make my comment on the road. It's 115 or 1300 north, access back in my subdivision where I live. That's turning into a bottleneck, even as it is, with the construction people on both sides of the road, and it's getting busier. I can only imagine with this much more people trying to get into that, there needs to be more access ability into this whole complex. Because I know what's happening now. Now you're adding another, what, 20% or 10% in cars going into that road.
Also, yeah, to Grover's point too, with the wetlands and the floodplain there, we don't have any connection to 1300 going north.
Yeah,
So I mean, I think we would want to try to
Even if it's right.
push UDOT to allow.
This is the park area,
access.
this road will come into the park and dead end, so this is the only
yeah.
connectivity.
Yeah, that's what we did.
So,
He's got-
yeah.
So you need to have more accessibility onto Washington there. As much as we love the commercial, I'm sorry, this, the street is a high priority as far as getting traffic in and off of Washington Boulevard. Yeah, that's my feedback that I would give to this one. I can see potentially with the commercial area up above, yes, more housing or low costs, that would be an ideal place. But to put, and then I can see where this would develop. But once again, you go back up to 1500, we have that lot sitting there, and it's been there for how many years? And it won't be developed, because there's nothing that's driving commercial, you won't do it.
Still waiting for our Thai
Maybe.
restaurant.
Yeah, our Thai restaurant, we promised, but this is now developing, so, maybe that will help.
What is that? Is that townhome? What is it?
That's my back end.
Oh, okay, never mind. Is what? Oh,
Hey, we're still.
yeah, I was gonna say it looks like townhome.
Turn up the mayor before you left.
Yeah, that's true. Is there a crossing on 1300 north that's part of the first two phases?
A crossing, what's that mean?
Like a lighted crossing so everyone can get to the park?
There'll
Oh.
be, no, the access.
Like a crosswalk with like a light.
For people from the east side to get to the park, I have no idea.
So that might be something that could be a contingent of reduce.
Yeah, the main access is gonna be
Yes.
west end, where it's gonna be, you can take your cursor west.
Yeah, and then. Just looking at making sure that if we want to use that open space, that there's a way for that community to easily get there.
Yeah.
And put money into that, making it functional.
I think your main access is gonna be down by, right in between Plush Nest and, right around there.
Oh, all the way down there, okay.
Yeah.
So we just need to make sure we've got,
Because up there, that's all
This is
wetlands.
homes, and then this is wet.
And if you're, this is.
we have sidewalks on both ends,
Yeah,
on both sides.
because this is gonna be this is gonna have to stay kind of a wetland
Yeah.
area, and then the main park is right here. So they would come
Okay,
across and probably access.
Trail
over.
over.
We haven't designed that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go back to I'm just saying, yeah, so we have our two detention basins here. So maybe something along this area. As far as a pathway or something, but
Oh, you're just talking like a trail, some connectivity,
Yeah.
not a road.
No, no.
Oh,
Not like that,
no,
no,
okay.
just like a trail, or like a crosswalk with like a light so that people can safely cross that road,
Is,
to make it really feasible.
that's not a UDOT road, that's a Harrisville road, right? Okay.
And
Yeah, you could maybe you might want to put, we maybe look at something maybe right there, so you can get all these people across and. over.
yeah, something like that, to get to the park faster by walking, than having to go all the way to the end and all the way up, if there's any way to cut through, I don't know.
You're a very studious crosswalker then. You don't jaywalk ever?
Well, you know what? Oh my God, you're not just rocking the whole road.
Don't like turn me in over there.
No, but do you know Moby Road in, you went to Highlands? So it's a road that used to be like, oh, you can jaywalk on it any time of day. And now it's to the point where the school's on one side, the parks are on one side, and the kids are on the other side. And there really isn't a safe way. So,
I'm just kidding.
no, I get it, but that's why.
You are
I
like
see this road getting more and more, and then you want to send your kids across, but every time I'm like,
No, that's fair.
like 8 times before you cross
How many
Moby Road.
people are there? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
That's what
I do too.
I was thinking you meant across Washington.
Oh, no, not Washington,
That's
it's the
close,
13,
yeah.
the 13. Yeah.
I had a question, so, I mean, basically, overall in the community, we have one public road, right, on 1300 North. So if we are putting in an access off of Canfield, that essentially is feeding into private roads.
Yeah, and it'd probably have to be a private road, cause
Well,
I
and
don't
it ends up
see,
further down. Is there any way it hooks onto those last townhomes there?
I don't know where your alignment
yeah, let me
is.
see, so go back to that.
Because
at
at
the
the bottom, that was.
It's probably like right here,
Yeah, somewhere in there.
that way.
So maybe make it public going through from there and then just that last
Well,
edge so you can
But the
connect it to
problem,
something
I don't
else.
think we want.
We don't
Because
want
it's
to
not gonna
allow that.
connect, it's not gonna connect to any,
Anything.
like, we'd have to go
But to
through,
the south.
you'd have
I
to
mean,
go
Yeah. to the south.
through private roads to get up to the public road.
But when they develop south of it,
See, that's,
But even still, it only,
I don't know, south of it,
Capture
you've got
south.
that, south of it, you have the big, what's the name, the tree touch or whatever they are, the turf. I don't see that going away anytime soon, not really connecting anywhere.
but in 50 years, when we need a road to go through, or like,
But you got a building here, I don't think you got the new, bounce.
but they won't be able to get.
I don't see a road going this way. I think this,
Type of these some cul-de-sac.
yeah.
does that make it just an outlet for us then? Which would be an okay right in, right out, which maybe helps our city anyways.
Possibly. I mean, it certainly helps you, Josh.
Well, and Preston might have never invited me to a meeting ever again, but I would imagine your people would like another access there.
Yeah.
I had always thought your plan would have had an access there, but I'm guessing fire's gonna be, like, that's a lot.
Development in the area.
Water line wise, it's only fed by 180 inch, so I would think you would have to tie into the 10 inch on Washington anyway.
Yeah.
So.
And you're probably gonna need more retention, and we don't want the only amenity area to be the retention basin, so I would plan on probably building at least that amenity area.
Yeah, well, so I think I guess. What are their next steps?
Yeah, I was just thinking through those in my head.
UDOT, meeting with UDOT.
I think a pre-application with UDOT sooner than later is always helpful to see where their vision is and where their plan is. So jumping on a call with them would probably be the next step, and then we can propose all of these questions and ideas to them. And then after that, I think.
Maybe back to here,
Yeah, we
yeah.
gotta figure
Yeah,
I mean,
so
to
if you guys
revise.
do, like work sessions of some sort, would there be a way to get some input from
Yeah, we can put up.
that city and planning, just on like what you might be looking for to let go of that?
Yeah, we've for sure done that in the past with our mixed-use developments. The mayor sets up a committee of people that.
Yeah, that would be
It's
awesome.
not a quorum, but we have enough council and planning commissioners available.
And then maybe they can bring some statistics on the community right now, because I know that it is thriving, which is a really cool thing for townhomes right now, because a lot of them are, so. They have a good little thing going on over there.
Yeah, I think just speaking on that too. I mean, it sounds like density is a big thing council wise. You know, if we're looking, this is less dense than what we have up here, so we're actually going down slightly. And just kind of the overall feel, if you've been in the community recently, that being too dense or, what just the general take is on that. We have seen really good absorption lately. The community's, performing really well. So this is essentially just, an extension of what we have up to the north there.
I think it's got good access and visibility with on the Washington.
Doesn't disrupt a lot of the rest of the community, so when we put this much density, it's nice to have it right next to your main thoroughfares, so you're not driving through other residential areas to get there.
And we do have, these are obviously set back off of Washington. It's not shown on here. This is just the conceptual plan, but this sidewalk will, extend off of Washington and obviously up to the north where the commercial is located.
That public street, the garages are on the back, so.
Yeah, they're all, so these are all rear loaded townhomes, same with here. It's essentially this, similar, it's the same product as what we have up here, full driveways.
Aesthetically, it's attractive from 1300. I just drove down the other day and it's the high density. Yeah, it's high density, but it's
Coming from the community standpoint, and people, that are coming to our areas like religious. These young couples are so excited because they can afford it. So you've got something that's sitting on the front page. You're exactly right. You nailed it, Mark, as far as what it's doing. As it continues to grow, I think it's going to be a vital part of Harrisville. So what you're doing is win-win. My only criticism is why is that first building on the Parrot white? Looks like it's Sunderlands. So it's colored and that was solid white.
And this on here.
Oh, no, that was,
This
Sorry.
that's for 7 black.
Park, yeah, that.
Oh, in here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that building.
right, yeah.
Totally, it's like.
It's dark white, and then there's color, construction. Boy, I can really feel that's nice.
I will ask the team about
I
that.
don't know the research and history behind that building. No, but, and kudos to you, what you're doing. I think you found a niche and it's fitting. And there's a lot of great people who are moving into Harrisville. I think the park idea and the vision of where we're going across the street in the wetlands, that's why I want to have this tied together.
Mhm.
Yes, and I think there is a need for that commercial there, but it's a need to be able to pull people off into a parking area, not on Washington where they get in and out of the park. And I think that will develop well. And with the park right there, this will become a vital part of feeding the commercial there. It makes sense. So if we can continue to develop roads and develop what you're doing here, I think it's a great thing. And, and putting, I guess saying some distance in between the subdivision where we are. We've had people comment, they like the rural feeling. We have kids that are out there actually observing birds and no beavers, thank you.
No, we have those.
But, it adds an aesthetic effect without still have a feeling that, yes, I have a nice place, but I still have a little bit of elderly that's coming.
So I don't have a great timeline to give you on that. I'm sure that's probably your next question. I think meeting with UDOT is critical, and then maybe revise it based on that, whatever feedback we get from them, revising your concept plan, and then we'll set up a mixed use committee meeting, kind of what we call those,
Yeah, that's good.
to talk about Dixon Creek.
I wanted to ask one more question, really quick, for direction. So would you personally be open to this being entirely residential, like what they've done before, if other, concessions are made at the park instead of doing commercial? Do it, okay. So just to give them a direction, maybe that's the selling
So
point.
let me ask you a futuristic type question. This is your next phase. Where are you going from here?
That's a good question.
I mean, it's hypothetical.
We haven't engaged right now. We're, just with the Bailey group, potentially more to the south and extending there, but we don't know the timeline of those operations, and what that looks like. So I would say, in the short term, this looks like phase 1, 2, and 3 is kind of where it's at right now.
which is fine. And I guess I'm trying to envision, okay, how big of a complex do we want to continue to develop? You know, in the end result, are we looking at phase 3, the phase 4, and then also?
I see, yeah. So technically, I mean, on the Horton side, we would most likely split this at least into 2 phases,
Okay.
just this portion here. Just from that standpoint,
Yeah.
so.
And one last question for you guys. Would you be open to, it would be 6 units per acre of single family detached? It would still be HOA. I just know that's the product they really want to see. And they could be very small lots and everything, but they wouldn't be looking at the commercial component or the open space. And if you meet the Haas requirements and we see if they're open to allowing this to be road rezoned to do that, then it would just be, I can send you the ordinance, but it's basically 6 units per acre.
Would it be the whole thing or would it just be a percentage of that?
All of them meeting that requirement,
Oh.
but 50% would only meet the, 50% would have to be the affordability.
But the whole thing would be single family detached.
I think that's the only way to do it, to do that.
Since you asked so nicely if we would be willing to consider that, my answer is no.
I say that,
It was like actually a question, so I'm gonna say no.
I think in terms of the land price and the development costs, I think the density at 6 just doesn't work. And I think the price point too, at least from what we've seen from phase 1 and selling the units. I mean, we're in the 300s, so it's well below the 500s, and that's where we see that big, you know, that demand, right, in that price point.
Well, that's affordable housing, quote unquote, in our day and age.
Yeah.
But it's down to.
so that might be a better product, and that would be what we could talk to the council about, say, hey, we propose the 6 units per acre, but that's gonna be a more expensive product than what we see here, and you are actually selling at that price right now, so.
Well, the other thing I guess I'm looking at visually, this is my guess, I mean, it's packed together. How does that fit into Harrisville's idea of wanting to still have a real community area? I don't want it to be all high density programs. It isn't the intention, but I can see where mixing it like we're talking here, and now gives a lot more flexibility to parents. Because, you know, these kids are gonna grow up, they're gonna have kids where they're gonna live. They're not gonna stay in that room, which now allows that to be sold, but they need a home. They need something with a little bit more space. And so that may not be your niche, but that's what we have to look at out here, of where we want this community to develop. Are all, you know, in my mind, connecting all of Harrisville together with walking paths and being able to have pocket parks and being able to have recreational areas that we can develop as self-sustained community is what's in the back of my mind, and where I envision this should be going. So yours is a very important part of it, but it's only one element of what we look at the grand scheme of Harrison. So that's where I'm coming from. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think if we had more land, to your point, that's on our larger master plan communities. That's what we love is, you know, 4 to 5 different product types. So, you know, you have a townhome buyer, and then, you know, later on down the road, once they get a family, they're moving into their next product. So on a smaller scale with this property, it makes it a little tougher to put those different product types in there.
Well, and the Haas is meant to go overlay on residential because residential has a certain value and commercial has a certain value, so I understand,
Yeah.
but.
Well, it's still,
Yes, the relative.
right, well, it's still like when you look at the actual, how it is to get to this project, it's still on a main thoroughfare, like it's a very hard sell for a single family, $500,000 house type of scenario. But yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking, and I know we need to look into that, you know, the legality or the feasibility of them, you know, doing some sort of in-kind contribution to count towards to allow the density. I know you know, Public Works have been working in the space and a lot, like we're trying to clean it up. I don't know if like if our long-term plan, I have to look back with our parks plan. Do we envision trying to have a trail through here, like along that embankment that could then access as part of.
We've talked about it to connect with the south end.
Cause you can have a nice park that goes right down. Trail, sorry. Nice trail that goes down that, access that follows that embankment all the way over. And then that provides access to that park. And I don't know if that's something, I know we have to talk about, so I don't know if that's something that.
We can look into in our trails.
That
and
maybe
activities.
installing that trail in the basin, which is directly
Yeah.
west.
This area here.
Yeah, abuts that,
And it would go along
Okay.
that side of this development.
that may make some sense.
So, yeah, all things that we can talk about.
Yeah,
in
that gives us some ideas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry that I railroaded Preston's
No,
meeting, but.
no.
We have to get creative.
That's very
Yeah.
helpful.
I know. There you go. Can't help myself.
Hey, but not.
Okay,
Anything else?
not for me.
What should be, what time frame? I'm gonna be out of town for the next like 2 weeks. So would that be like early May, maybe that next,
Yeah, you'll
Potentially.
drive that next meeting.
okay, that next meeting,
Uh-huh.
okay,
Yeah, you'll set up, they usually invite us.
Okay.
So we'll be part of that discussion whenever they meet with a property discussion in a city, they usually invite the city.
or
to
on
that.
the, so I was saying on the mixed use.
Yeah, we can,
That-
you
that
can
portion.
let us know when
Okay.
your availability is and on that too, and.
But I want the UDOT information
Yes,
before we
before.
start the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, perfect,
Just so we know what our access limitations may or may not be.
okay, okay, that sounds great,
Great.
awesome,
Okay.
okay, thank you so much.
No, you bet.
All right, we have kind of a walk-in, but it was just a late application, but we added it to our morning agenda for Travis Allen. Travis Allen, are you here? Would you like to join us up here? 431 North Harrisville Road.
This could probably be very quick, especially has some good nuggets.
I'm gonna guess, is this a mixed use question?
Well, it's not density. It's
A
not long.
density question?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not long,
mixed use,
yeah.
Okay,
So it's currently zoned RE 15.
uh-huh,
So I'm a realtor looking to list this for my seller, trying to get highest best use for him, so just kind of curious if there's any consideration for any type of towns, or now that we talk meeting, you know, the 6 units to the acre for small single family. Just trying to see how I can send it to him to get him.
I think it's a small,
So small.
it's so small, and so right now, for that 6 units per acre, we really want to see like 5 continuous acres.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, things like.
What are we looking at?
only
Oh,
like
yeah,
an acre and a half, and it's only like 100, I looked at it when I saw your application, it's only like 100 foot wide too, which.
Sorry.
Really?
25.
120, okay, sorry,
No, it's, no, you're fine.
but it was just over 100, yeah.
100 for, current zoning 100 for frontage, correct?
for residential.
For,
For the RE 15.
For R15,
R15.
right, no, I mean, general plan, it shows this whole area is commercial,
for the future use, yeah,
future use
Yeah,
so a rezone to commercial,
would go through easy.
Yeah.
but a rezone or variance for any higher density in RE 15 would.
It's on the mixed use map.
so it could, but right now it's 50-50 is what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Is that residential?
Acre and a half.
Acre and a half, it's so small, it's like, talk to your neighbors and see. who
Okay, come together.
Yeah, come together, it'd be nice to,
Get that 190, 417, 45, something like that.
yeah, if you can get a chunk of land, then have something more to work with, that's really hard.
Yeah, this is gonna be
And
a
all of
minimum 5
the-
acres to.
Yeah, like all of
We've got
that,
all of this.
all the whatnot, put it together.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
It might be a little naive, right? How hard that is, but
Yeah.
yeah, we've had a lot of discussions, just so you know, in the past about just portions of these. Ideally, if somebody wanted to take on that full space,
Right.
it could be a beautiful project for the city. It's got a lighted intersection at both of these locations.
So let's just say I got all those property owners on board, it would be turned into more of a mixed use development.
Potentially, yeah, you could get some residential out of it.
Unless you have bigger,
Unless you have a
or unless
bigger
you have like a
plan.
commercial tenant that wanted.
Wanted that space.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
But, I don't think we have the acreage requirement on mixed use commercial, do we?
We don't have a minimum acreage, it's just the 51 49 requirement in the code that
Right.
is usually.
Yeah, so,
From a development perspective, by the time you get 51% commercial, do you want a residential?
No, it would.
Yeah.
At all.
yeah.
Okay, so let's say we go commercial and end up with a office building, something like that. Is that something that would work in that?
Flex space is
Makes-
becoming kind of a swear word in commercial space for us, just honestly.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
It's
And
challenging from a development standpoint from the city because we don't know from planning how many parking stalls to require, because it depends on who the tenant is that comes in, and
sure.
it's really,
But some sort
the
of
office space is.
You can do it, but
Right, because if the property owner came in
Tenants.
and rezoned it first to commercial,
Yes.
which should be an easy go, because
Yes.
the drawing is fine. Then they're entitled to do whatever is in a commercial.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
look at it.
Do office condos or something that would make sense.
Yeah.
So,
not saying that that's.
Yeah,
Right.
if you want to do it, but it
But-
doesn't seem like the climate
allowed.
This is,
on our end or your end is very good for
this
that.
is prime commercial area though for Harrisville.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So buy it all up and do something nice.
Yeah. See something is that.
Not at all.
I mean, we sat patiently to watch, I mean, the promises made to the city 20+ years ago with Walmart coming in.
Yeah.
Haven't necessarily played out the way the city was
Right.
promised. We have vacant pads after 25 years.
Yeah.
Around the Walmart, so. Yeah, they. That's right, if you asked for a zoning change to commercial, that would be an easy. Well, I wouldn't say easy, it'd be a more easy process because it is in the future land use map, but.
Yeah. So,
Then what does that look like for your client? And also, how's that gonna benefit the city?
Yeah.
And
right.
I think kind of piggybacking off our previous discussion, if on those lighted intersections, you can get some prime commercial paths. I think the council would be very open to some dense, residential to support the
That's true.
commercial, because you're just right in that triangle, you know?
Sure.
And so maybe it doesn't look like contiguous here, that this area here is a bit of a.
So that's very fair. Yeah, but yeah, I could see filling in a lot of high density housing in this isolated area if we have commercial components to
That
balance
support
out.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. Yeah, yeah, mine was quick, but that's at least good information to take back to the others.
Okay, yeah, you bet.
Thanks.